Now I'd like to invite the children to come forward for the children's message. Good morning. How are you today? Is school vacation coming up? No school next week? Oh, that's good. That's very good. You have fun on school vacation, huh? You comfortable, Noah? Okay, good. Look at this cartoon up here. Can you see it? Lucy and who's she talking to? Her little brother, whose name starts with an L, just like Linus. Right, very good. You guys are getting to know these characters pretty well. It's kind of amazing to us old people that you guys didn't grow up with these guys like we did. So Lucy says to Linus, "Do you understand?" That's probably the way she said it, right? Not, "Do you understand?" She said, "Do you understand?" "Yes, I understand. You don't have to yell at me," Linus says. "Perhaps you're right. Perhaps I shouldn't yell at you so much. But I feel that if I talk to you quietly as I am doing now, you'd never listen." You yell like that at your sisters or your brother sometimes? You yell at your parents sometimes like that? No. Your parents yell at you like that? You never listen. You'd never listen, she says. What does that really mean? You know, sometimes you say something and you don't really mean it the way it sounds. It really means something else. Isn't that true? Like, for instance, somebody tells you to do something or something's happening and you wanted to do something else, but maybe the kids you're playing with or something, they decide to do this other thing which you didn't want to do. And sometimes, do you say, "Fine"? Do you mean that's fine? "Oh, that's fine. I'll go along with that." Is that what you mean? No, what do you mean? "Fine." What does that mean? It's just like when I started the service this morning, I said, "Good morning." It's not a good morning. It's a crummy morning. It stinks out there. Doesn't it? It doesn't? Well, some people say, "Oh, look at the beautiful snowfall." And somebody a couple of weeks ago said, "Oh, it just looks so pretty in the trees." Oh, forget it. Fine. Okay. What does it mean when she says, "You'd never listen"? What she means, I think, is you don't do what I ask you to do. You don't do what I tell you to do. Not you don't listen. Does he actually hear what she's saying? Yeah, it goes in his ears, right? Especially if she yells at him. But he doesn't do what Lucy wants him to do. So then he doesn't listen. Is that true? What about when your parents say that to you? "You never listen to me." Do they mean you never listen? You don't actually hear the words? Or do they mean you don't do what they want you to do? Number two. You don't do. So that's really not a good way to say that. And when you raise your voice and you yell at someone, does that help them hear better? Notice sometime when you're in a busy place or something where there may be people who speak Spanish or people who speak Portuguese or people who speak some other language, and an American says to them, "The bus is over there." They don't know how to say "the bus is over there" in Spanish or German or Polish or whatever the language is. So they speak more loud. They speak in a loud voice. Does that help the person who's German or Polish understand? No. What do you do that for? You can understand German, yeah. Liam can understand Portuguese. Some of you take Spanish in school. So it doesn't help when you say, "The bus is over there." People look at you like, What's the matter? I speak Spanish. I'm not deaf. Isn't that right? So that's what's happening in a lot of times when we raise our voice. And often when you raise your voice, it's just because you're angry. Now, if you're angry and you speak in a quiet voice, does that mean you're not angry anymore? No, you can still be angry. And you can say, I'm really angry with you because I asked you to do this. This is what your parents would say often. I asked you to do this and you didn't do it. You said you were going to do it, but you didn't do it. So when people say you don't listen, and sometimes you say that too. You don't mean you don't listen. You mean you're not doing what I want you to do, right? Chloe, let her speak. Chloe was yelling at you? Wait a minute, wait, this could be good now. Just be quiet. Okay. Oh, Chloe was yelling at Abby today. Maybe Abby wasn't doing something, or maybe Abby wasn't listening. Sometimes when you're watching television, when you're watching a video or something, and your parents talk to you, you don't really hear them. Why? Because you're paying attention to the television. Yeah. That's not good either, is it? Sometimes the television is the dumbest thing because you get glued to it and then you get lost instead of hearing the important things. Right, Lucas? You don't really like television, do you? Yes, you love television, yeah. I have to admit, I do too. Okay, you can go to your Sunday school classes now. Thanks for listening. He always watches the news. I had a kid in a Sunday school class in another church who watched the Weather Channel all day long. Which reminds me, I have to tell you, I have to give you some news which you may or may have not heard, to show you how long the reach is of Chaffin Church. Two things. John Orrell, who's going to become a member here soon, who most of you have met, has a son named Mark, who was in my Sunday school class years ago. And Mark was a funny little kid. Well, Mark was involved in music, and Mark got into a band called Dropkick Murphy, which is a great name for a band. They had one of the songs in the movie that won the Academy Award, The Departed, was by Mark and his band. And so on the night of the Oscars, Martin Scorsese, the famous director, called Mark up to congratulate him on winning with the movie, of course, this best award. So, see the connection? Even with big Hollywood moguls. And secondly, there's a picture. Yes. And he was a wonderful Sunday school kid. And sometimes his brother Tim, Tim was here on Easter with his dad. Sometimes you'll see Tim here too. And Tim did the funniest children's message. I think I may have told you about this, and he brought it up to me as soon as he shook my hand. Now, we haven't seen each other probably in 15 years. I did a children's message on how long ago creation happened. And I said, this piece of toilet paper represents all of human history. Now, I realize this was obscure for kids, but in this church, there were about 65 kids that would come forward, and a lot of them were older kids. I said, so this one square of toilet paper, this represents all of human history, everything we know, every book, every word that was written down. But this is how old the earth is, and I had a roll of toilet paper. And I handed Timmy the roll, and I said, Timmy, now show us how old the earth is. And Timmy took the toilet paper and he unrolled it. I had it on a stick. And he went down the side aisle, bigger sanctuary than this. And he went out the back door. And I kept talking. He said, look at how old this is. Well, Timmy, and I didn't set this up with him, went all the way down through the fellowship hall. And he came out the door in front of the sanctuary, still unrolling the toilet paper. And the congregation thought it was hysterical. And